Customers feel like a number. You're not a number. You have a name, you have a story.
Holly Robinson has become one of the leading names in bespoke jewellery.
I was that dick. I had to drive a BMW, I had to have 3-piece suits, I had to be covered in jewellery.
What was that about at that time?
A show. It was all show.
But not everything in life can always go to plan.
Forgive me, this is the hardest bit.
Defying the odds to achieve what seemed like the impossible.
I'm going to die in this awful room, in this awful hospital, and she's going to be on her own forever.
A story about resilience and determination.
So were you mentally planning a whole life with you not in it?
Oh, I sat and planned my funeral. But I thought my life was unique before, and then the last 4 years, shat on that, really.
Welcome to the dark room, where everything comes to light.
So Holly, you've had a near-death experience, you juggle family life whilst building a jewellery brand from scratch, you design and create products in an age where everything seems digital, and you use social media to reach thousands of happy customers. So for those hearing from you for the first time, who are you and what do you do?
That's a great introduction, by the way. So I am Holly. I do own and run a company called Holly Robinson Jewellery, where I make bespoke engagement rings and wedding rings.
So what's the mission? What's the wider mission behind the brand?
It's more so to bring luxury to clients who aren't necessarily getting a luxury experience elsewhere, also teaching them they don't need to break the bank, and actually educating through the process. It's less smoke and mirrors.
Yeah.
Anything that's made in a factory, I don't want it. I would say 60 to 80% of sales are lab now.
Which is, on one hand, it's like more ethical, isn't it?
It's a really big question. That's huge, because with Mind, you've got things like the Kimberley process, which basically monitor who's selling, who's buying, who's mining, how they're shipped across the world. But with lab grown, there's nothing. So they are literally being made in factories in India and China. But who's going to the factories to make sure is there kids in there?
Oh, okay.
We don't know. So there's no.
So it's the same problem, just in a different location.
Just
basically.
different location.
It's not in the mine; it's in the factory.
Yeah. Could it be argued lab-grown diamonds are made the same way as fast fashion?
Oh,
Yeah.
I'd never thought of that.
Yeah. And they use a lot of fuel to make them. But then you can't really argue a diamond mine is a hole in the ground and they're massive holes. So you gotta weigh what's important.
Was it blood diamond?
With Leonardo DiCaprio.
Yeah. And they were explaining the process of how they basically like wash the diamonds.
Yeah.
So even when you're getting certified clean diamonds, they're basically, it's like money laundering for diamonds.
Did he put them in a sheep or something?
Yeah.
You said something like that.
There was all kinds.
I mean, it exists. The fear is if a mine, well, it's actually the country. If a country is found to have dodgy stones, they get blacklisted. No one will work with them ever again.
The whole country?
The whole country. So it's like they will not be able to supply diamonds to everyone else. And then it goes through multiple channels. If there's a supplier or a person, they get blacklisted. So it can really screw you over.
And is it true that they hold diamonds back to hold the value?
100%. Yeah. I mean, have I got definitive proof? No, but it's De Beers. They do it. They all do it.
Are they running everything?
No, I don't think De Beers run everything, but they run probably 70% of it all.
So where are you finding most of your clients?
Mostly Instagram, and also recommendations is huge. You know, a guy buys an engagement ring, he tells his best mate, he tells his barber, they all speak to each other. It used to be very much wedding shows, but I'm not a wedding show person anymore.
And I know you spoke briefly off camera about the value in rings being personally made and more bespoke.
I'd come from a place of make things in bulk, put them in the window, sell them as quickly as possible. And it was really lacking that personal touch.
Yeah.
And I think an engagement ring, a wedding ring, is going to last you a lifetime. It deserves that little bit more attention. So everything's made in the UK. All stones are sourced by me. It's very within the business rather than bringing cheap stuff in.
Yeah, I guess there's the element as well of having something that's made just for you rather than something that a million other people could be wearing and
well,
have.
imagine your neighbour's got the same engagement ring as you.
Yeah.
That's like my worst nightmare.
It suddenly takes the shine off a bit, doesn't it?
Exactly.
No pun intended.
Yeah.
But, so I know that alongside your business journey, you've had a bit of a crazy personal journey as well.
Yes.
Are
yeah.
you comfortable talking about that
Of course.
and going into that? Just
Yeah.
because I think it's such a crazy comeback story, basically. So do you just want to start us from the beginning of, first of all, you kind of leaving your normal 9 to 5, I'd say, and then
Normal job, yeah.
moving on to this whole brand, which has become its whole own thing, and everything you were dealing with alongside that.
Okay, this is a big one. So 2018, I decided to leave my old job. It was a lot. I was managing a lot of stores across the UK, and I'd lost the passion. I was spending most of my time on the M4. I didn't see my partner. Very rarely did I see my extended family.
Was that also working with jewellery? Or
It was,
yeah.
yes. It was also working in jewellery, and I'd learnt a lot. Like I'm thankful to that company because I learnt so much, but I also learnt what I didn't like, which then gave me the perfect foundations to start the business. So I ran away to Florida for a couple of months to see my dad, and that's when he basically gave me a kick up the backside and said, "Come on, if you're going to do it now." So that was 2018, and everything was pretty sane, pretty normal. I was running everything out of my spare room at home and visiting clients at home in their homes. And then COVID hit. And then all of a sudden I fell in love with my partner entirely, and we decided to have a baby.
And this is kind of where things start going a bit crazy at that point.
Yeah, I mean, this is when I realised what real pressure and real stress looked like. I think I was probably quite dramatic in my younger years and thought the world was ending. Come 2021, I realised what it actually felt like when the world was ending.
So are you, in a weird way, grateful that you kind of experienced that, the harder side of things?
In a weird way, yes. I think it makes you more appreciative of what you have now.
Yeah.
And also how bloody easy my life was up until that point.
Diamonds are formed under pressure. I've got to stop doing puns.
That was awful.
I will stop.
That was awful.
I will stop. I promise you. It's the dad jokes. I can't hold
fair
them
enough.
back. So you briefly spoke in your notes about pregnancy taking a different direction for you. So what did that look like? What happened?
So it was actually, the start was a really easy pregnancy. I was that person that everyone hates when I go, it's not hard. Just walk
cruising.
around. My legs don't hurt, my hips don't hurt, I'm fine. And then we had our 20-week scan. Both of us, I look back now, were kids, basically. I mean, we weren't. I was 31. But we went in thinking, this is great. We're going to find out if it's a boy or a girl. And they said, your daughter has something wrong with her heart. Again, we were just completely naive to the whole situation.
Yeah.
They referred us to a specialist in Bristol. To show how naive we were, I went on my own. Because I was like, don't take a day off work. I'll go. I'll get this sorted. And then they took...
So at this point, you don't really think there's much wrong?
We haven't got a clue.
Yeah.
You know, we're like, oh, maybe they saw it, maybe they didn't. So I had the scans in Bristol, and they took me into a little room, and that's when I realised, shit, you don't come in a little room like this unless they're telling you some bad news. So they told me that our daughter had what's called a coarctation of the aorta, and they told me it could be, for many, many reasons, it could be what they call like a formation issue, so while she's been growing, or it could be a defect, basically. And they said you're going to have an amniocentesis to basically help us check why she's got this issue. And then you need to make a decision. And in my head, I was like, what?
You don't want to hear that.
What do you mean make a decision?
Yeah.
And they were like, well, we need to consider whether you continue with this pregnancy. And at that point, it was like a black cloud just came over me. I was like, I've got to drive home on my own, and I've got to tell my partner this. And they can't give you an answer there and then. So we waited maybe 2 weeks for the next appointment. The next appointment was the amniocentesis, and the results took 3 weeks to find out. So that was a lot of late nights standing in the kitchen.
Torture.
And I had a big belly at this point. There was obviously a baby in there, and we'd already formed relationships with this little thing.
And I guess kind of what you're expecting to happen, you've got the whole vision.
Oh, it's gone. It's gone. And it sounds so morbid, but you do prepare yourself for the worst.
Yeah.
And it was heartbreaking, because if the worst were to happen, we would have to make that decision. They weren't going to make it for us.
So is your brand building alongside all of this happening?
Oh, yeah, I'm still working. 2021 was actually my most successful financial year. I just buried my head in the work.
That's mental. So you're juggling all of this going on, and then all your free time, you're then
working.
Head down.
Yeah.
And are you doing like 70-hour, 80-hour weeks?
At least.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sat at my desk in the middle of the night, redoing the website, redoing SEO, talking to clients, evening appointments, driving out to them because all their appointments were still at home at this point. Yeah. Didn't stop.
Absolutely insane. So what happened from there then?
So the results came back that luckily it was just a formation issue, and then we were part of under Bristol's care, so we had a specialist, and then she would basically give me scans every week to check how my daughter's heart was forming, and then come up with a plan for once she was born what her operation would look like.
So did you have to actually make that black and white decision at some point?
No, luckily, because it wasn't a defect, it was more of a formation issue. They were like, let's continue, we'll give her the operation, everything should be fine.
That's amazing. So I'm assuming this was quite soon after she was born that you had to...
She had her operation at 10 days old. Yeah.
I can't imagine.
Yeah.
That is crazy.
So because her operation we knew had to take place in Bristol, I went into labour prematurely, so we drove to Bristol. At that time we lived in Swindon, and you can imagine we bombed it straight down the M4. I was not going into Swindon Hospital and then being separated from her, because they said they'd take her straight to Bristol for the op. So we drove to Bristol, and the midwife was very shocked when we walked through the front door.
So what happens from there then?
So I can't tell you much about the labour. I don't really remember it. From what I understand, it was pretty straightforward. And maybe I think I might have been a little bit of a wimp, but, each to their own.
Why can't you remember it?
It was just a whirlwind.
Okay.
I don't think it's an abnormal thing. It was just like I had a job to do. My job was to get her out. And then I knew as soon as she came out, I was giving her over to someone else, almost as if she wasn't my responsibility. You've got to fix her because I need to keep her alive. And they had said to me, while she's in your tummy, she's safe because you're the one that's keeping her alive. As soon as she comes out, that's when the issues could start. I remember the moment she was born, they wanted us to do skin to skin and hold her, and I lost it and said, no, take her away. She needs machines. You need to keep her alive.
So have you gone into like very matter of fact?
So matter of fact. So I was so cold.
Yeah.
So cold.
But do you think that's like a survival thing, like you needed to be?
100%. Yeah.
And then did that affect your attachment?
I think strangely, yes. I think, you've got to appreciate I wasn't looking after her. There were doctors and nurses and midwives. They're amazing, but they babysat my daughter for the first 4 weeks of her life. So, once they let me out of the hospital, I wasn't a mother anymore, but my child was in the hospital.
How's your partner dealing with all of this at the time?
He was doing really well. I would say he was affected more by everything after, once we'd all come home, because he's very matter of fact. His job in his mind was to look after me and make sure I'm okay, because my big focus was her. So
you're both like head down, we've got to keep going, get through this, deal with how we feel later on.
And we're living in Bristol. We were living in a hotel. We were walking to the hospital 3 times a day. Bless him, he's carrying this industrial hospital size pump up and down the hill to St Michael's Hospital. Yeah.
It was a lot.
It was a lot.
So how's your business? I'm assuming it's suffering in amongst all of this because...
November was massive. It was absolutely massive. I was so lucky. My clients were so understanding in the fact of I didn't really share my daughter's formation problems with her heart, but they knew I was having a baby. I mean, we're lucky the industry that we work in, it's set up quite nicely for people building families. So they forgave me.
Were you able to fulfill all the orders and everything you were trying to put together?
I was. I remember there was one engagement ring that fell right in the day after I'd given birth, and I delivered it in person to the man's house.
Was he aware? Did he know that?
Well, he opened the door and he was like, what? Because obviously I'm not pregnant anymore. He was like, what's going on? And I was like, here's your ring. Have a great time proposing. So I thought someone else was delivering this. And I was like, no, don't worry about it. But it was the perfect distraction for me. And I'm lucky I love my job. So, yeah.
It's a strange one because I think that everyone who is kind of a bit of a workaholic, would you call yourself a workaholic?
100%.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I always feel like my justification for it is every other addiction leads to bad things.
Yes.
This is like the one addiction that leads to good things. But with anything...
Sometimes.
Yeah, I was going to say, with anything, there's sacrifices and payoffs and stuff like that. So you're on this journey, you're head down, you're kind of putting yourself on the back burner.
Yeah.
Does that catch up to you at any point?
Yes. I mean, my partner and I didn't realise how much care a woman needs after giving birth.
Yeah.
No one had talked about this to us. You know, we didn't know. We just assumed, forgive me, you popped it out and on you got. You know?
Yeah, on your bike.
Yeah. So we were very naive again. And a couple of weeks after our daughter's operation was when it all went downhill. I'd spent a night with her alone, first night ever in the hospital. I clearly was unwell. No one picked up on it. And I went home. And that's when I had what we don't know. Was it a fall? Was it a seizure? We don't know. No one can tell us because no one was actually watching me at the time.
So this is your experience in this, not your daughter at this point. So
she's still in the hospital.
So you've both now got health complications.
Something's wrong, yeah.
Right, okay. And how did that progress with yours specifically?
So it was assumed I had some kind of infection, just purely because of the aftercare or the lack of aftercare I'd had since giving birth, because I'd basically said I'm not important, focus on my child. However, once they'd done CTs, I believe it was, they then said, well, you actually have a thing called an AVM in your brain, which is, the technical side is veins and arteries are mixed with each other. There's no capillaries linking the two. So the pressure gets to the vein and the artery, and then the walls are really weak, basically. So it's like an aneurysm.
That's mental. So is that caused by anything?
No, I would have had that since birth.
And it was just a ticking,
quite literally ticking time bomb. I mean, they said to me, we need to deal with this ideally before your mid-30s, because the older you get, the more likely you are you're going to have a bleed or a stroke, something like that.
So that could have killed you on the spot?
It could have, or it could have just debilitated me in some way. We don't know.
So you're now walking around with this new
something
knowledge
in my brain. Yeah.
Where'd you go from there? Because I guess you're kind of juggling, like you say, putting yourself on the back burner for your child and for your business, for both your babies. And then you're also kind of having to deal with this knowledge that
something's going on.
Yeah.
I ignored it. I completely ignored it. So at one point I was in Swindon Hospital. She was in Bristol Hospital. My partner was told, you can bring her home. He said, I can't bring her home. Holly's not here. I don't know what I'm doing. They made him bring her home. So he had our baby at home for the first 3 days on his own. And I wasn't locked in Swindon Hospital, but they wouldn't let me leave because they didn't know what was wrong with me. That was the darkest time. Completely.
So what's going through your head when you're sat there kind of isolated?
Forgive me, this is the hardest bit.
Yeah.
So I thought about it. Am I meant to be a mother? Am I the best person to be her mother? Am I going to die? What if I die and she hasn't even met me properly? She's not going to remember me. And then I'm also thinking about my partner. You know, he's sat at home with a brand new baby. He doesn't know how to change a nappy. He's changed one nappy in his life, and that's when she was in the hospital. It was the darkest moment, because I'd gone from, is my baby okay? What's going to happen to my baby? To, am I even going to see my baby again?
Yeah.
Are they going to let me out? I mean, I think at that point, a lot of my friends and family were worried, because I was ringing everyone going, I need to get out. You need to get me out. I need to see my baby. And I can't label it as postpartum depression. I wouldn't know how to do that, but it was 3 days of complete hell. So I was in a room with 8 mothers and their babies.
Whilst you're alone.
Yeah, for that night and the next day. And I was like, I'm gonna go. I mean, I literally binge watched Downton Abbey. I've never watched it before in my life. And I was like, this is the only thing I can watch. And had my headphones in. And I remember talking to my mum, and my mum was like, why can I hear babies? Like, because I'm on a ward with 8 of them.
And what is it about that room?
I think it was the tricks that your mind would play on you. So I knew for the first weeks of my daughter's life, I had been by the side of her bed. So even the only time I wasn't was when she was having her operation. You know, they brought her out of her operation and put her on a ward, and we were looking at her going, well done, you've had your operation, like everything's fixed, we're fine. And her heart stopped. And
in that moment,
we were pushed out of the way. They ran in, and you know what you see in films, like they were doing CPR and everything, and I was like, oh my God, she's had the operation and now she's going to die. And that was all that was playing on my mind when I was sat in a room in Swindon of who's going to save her, because I'm not there. Maybe that's really egotistical of me.
No, I think that's a natural mother's reaction.
Yeah. And all I could think of, this is really weird actually, when she was in another ward, there was a little baby next to her. It was a little boy, and all he did was cry. No one ever came to see him. He was always on his own. We were always there, and he was always on his own. And I just thought, that's going to be her life. She's going to be on her own. I'm going to die in this awful room, in this awful hospital, and she's going to be on her own forever. And, okay, she's got my partner, but you need your mum.
Mm.
And, you know, maybe that's me being unfair, but I feel like a girl needs her mum. And all I could think of was, they are never going to let me out. I mean, I wasn't on a psych ward, but I felt like I'm not going to get out.
Even though it wasn't your choice, did you feel like you'd let her down, like abandoned her?
100%. I truthfully believed I shouldn't have had a child. I was letting her down. She deserves someone better. You know, even to the point of, if I die, I hope my partner marries someone else so that she will have someone.
So were you mentally planning a whole life with you not in it?
Oh, I sat there and planned my funeral. Like I was going to die. And whether I wasn't going to die then, I was going to die before she was 5.
Do you ever have them thoughts now?
No, I don't. I'm really lucky that I don't. But there were times when I did. You know, going up to the consultant, we went in Sheffield. I mean, they bolted a cage to my head to give me the radiation. And I remember sitting in the radiation machine. So it's bolted into your head in 4 places. You're lying down, and then the cage is bolted into the machine. And I was like, this is my life. I can't. It's almost unbelievable that this is happening with everything that's gone on. I'm not going to get out of this machine. I'm actually really claustrophobic when it comes to MRI machines now, because I think they're not going to let me out.
Yeah.
It's weird. I just don't want her to be on her own. She was so brave, and I had to then be as brave as her. And I think that's why I ignore it now, because I have to do that. I think I deep down believed it was my fault that I had it in my brain.
Did logic ever come into that and kind of, because you had it from birth, you couldn't?
Not at that time. I didn't understand how it was in my head, and it had been for 31 years. It didn't make sense to me. And it became a problem that just needed to be fixed. But then I suddenly realised it might not ever be fixed. It might always be there. And then I was like, I failed at something. I can't overachieve at this. I can't keep working away and work through the night to fix this thing. I've never not been in control before.
You kind of use control as safety, I guess.
Yeah. And I think, you know what, anyone who has kids knows that you can't control them. You can't control them or their environment for the rest of their life. And like I said, you know, by no means is it harder one way or the other. I couldn't imagine bringing a child home the day after giving birth. What do you do with it? I don't know. Like I said, I had babysitters for 4 or 5 weeks. So, yeah, I think it's everyone. The hardness is relative in the grand scheme of things. One of the biggest things for me when we found out about my brain was they told me we couldn't have more kids. If we could, but it would be a huge risk. Your aneurysm will probably, I say explode, there's probably a better medical terminology. If you're pregnant again, it will explode because of your blood pressure and things like that.
Did you want more kids?
I don't know, because we hadn't had that conversation. I've always wanted 3 children, and the decision was taken away from me. So the answer now is no, but it could have been yes.
Do you find losing control is losing protection for your daughter?
Yes. Yeah. I can overreact very quickly at things that are so minimal if it's putting her in what I perceive to be danger. Yeah, very quickly.
It's that phrase, mama bear.
Oh, yeah, she's wild. I don't think I'm a bear. I think I'm like I don't even know, a dinosaur or something. Like, it's just a whole nother level.
Was everything to do with the brand just put on hold for this?
At that point it was.
Yeah.
Luckily I had planned the maternity leave. So as far as anyone on the outside was aware, I was just off with my brand new newborn baby.
Yeah. The reason I ask is because you know yourself, when it's your thing, when you're self-employed, it never really stops.
Yes.
Even when you have holidays and time off, you've still got the kind of nagging thoughts and the emails and all that kind of stuff. And you're on this journey seem very much to be using this kind of exciting, positive thing as
it
a
was
distraction.
An escape. Yeah. Work was definitely an escape.
So when you've now lost that as well, what was left in that situation?
Nothing. I truly felt like I had nothing left in that hospital. I was beside myself, which I have never done before. So it was very much. I've worked since I was 14 years old. All of a sudden I had no work. My partner wasn't there. I'm definitely completely dependent on him. We've been together for nearly 2 decades. And this thing that I had grown and loved wasn't allowed into the hospital to see me.
So what kept you going in that period?
Friends. All my friends texting, calling. My family were very good at, my mum was psychotically calling the hospital saying, when are you letting her out? What's going on? She is a nutter, so she's very good at that.
So moving forward then with your journey at this point, what happens from here? So you're alone and isolated in this hospital. Your daughter's at home. She's not 100%.
Yeah.
Where do we go from here?
So they basically said the tests were inconclusive after 3 days and sent me home.
So you'd been there for no reason, basically.
So I was like, well, thank you for keeping me in this isolated room, hooked up to, I don't actually know what I was hooked up to. It's a blur. We need to book you in for scans and CTs, but we'll do that later.
Yeah.
So they sent me home. And then I was really lucky. We had a little bubble. We went through Christmas and New Year, and it was really nice. And I ignored the fact that I had this in my brain because my focus was looking after my baby. And if I'm honest, falling in love with her all over again.
Oh, that is beautiful.
Yeah.
So at what point does this become something that you can't ignore?
The hospital started trying to get me in for CT scans with the dye, where they put the dye in so they can take photos. I refused it for months because they couldn't tell me what the dye would do if I was feeding my daughter. And then eventually, once she stopped breastfeeding, they started doing all the tests. And that's when it came back. We're going to be referred to a different hospital. This is actually quite serious.
And is anything progressing with your daughter at the same time?
She's doing amazingly well at this point.
So you've got a bit of positive.
Yeah, she's had her operation. She's recovering amazingly well. At this point, she is a perfect little new baby. You wouldn't even know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So are you still running off fight or flight at this point?
100%.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think I've come out of fight or flight probably until maybe 18 months later.
Do you think that's actually helpful in business in a way?
Yes and no. I think I'm very quick at I'm very good at making quick decisions, and I can do them with a lot of precision. But there are some sides of the business where you need to take your time, and you need to reconsider and look at the bigger picture rather than just keep going and going.
Yeah. The reason I ask is you hear it a lot where people are like, my back was against the wall, the business had to work.
Yeah.
And it just kind of seems that as negative as all of this was, and understandably really hard to go through, it's also kind of pushed you to do great things.
Exactly. I think this sounds really strange. I think the show of the business is what kept me on the straight and narrow. It was almost, you are serving your clients. They are in the happiest moments of their life. Don't shit all over that. Don't bring your problems to work. I'm very much in that mindset.
Yeah.
And they gave me joy when I was worrying about whether my brain was about to pop.
So your brain didn't pop?
No, it didn't. It didn't. I'm still here. They ended up giving me treatment for it. So I had radiation for it 2023. And everything was going really well.
What happened then?
So 2024, almost a year to the date, I had my first seizure whilst driving. I was very lucky no one was in the car. I didn't crash into anyone, but I drove off an A road into a little ditch. And when I woke up, I didn't know who I was. I didn't know why I had a car seat in the car. I didn't know where I was. Hilariously, he was very happy to know the only person I could remember was my partner.
Oh,
So he was like, yeah.
still scoring points.
Exactly.
So for anyone, including myself, who's never experienced that, can you remember how that feels? Do you feel like you're going to sleep, or is it?
I remember driving down the road. I love a good drive. So I was driving down and I felt my right eye closing, and I thought, oh my God, I think I'm having a stroke. So I pulled the mirror down to look at my face, because they teach you in school that your face goes. Oh, my face looked normal. So I was like, oh, that's fine. Maybe I've just got a fly in my eye or something. And then the car wasn't moving. Luckily, it's an automatic, so it's rolling at this point. But I couldn't remember how to make the car go.
Oh, so you're losing cognitive ability.
So I'm now thinking, is the car broken? Or have I forgotten how to accelerate? And I don't remember anything around me at this point. I just remember the thought of the car's broken, or am I broken?
Yeah.
And then that's when I woke up in the ditch.
So is that just a blank gap there?
Nothing at all.
That is so scary, geez.
Yeah.
So you wake up, you've lost cognitive function, you're still confused. What's the next thing you do though?
So luckily there was a guy who saved me, I say. He followed me all the way down the A road in his little van, and he was the one that knocked on the window. I then thought he was robbing me. So I start screaming, thinking this man's robbing me. In my head, I was in a lay-by, just having a little rest or something. And he starts banging on the window. Luckily, he takes my phone, finds my partner in my phone. My partner gets there before the emergency services do. They cut the roof off and take me to the hospital.
So you're in a complete state of confusion.
Complete.
You don't know.
Complete, yeah.
There's no logic there at all.
I vividly remember, as they pulled me out of the car, this is soppy, there was a tiny little brown bunny that was in the car seat. That was my daughter's favourite. And I knew she couldn't sleep without it, basically. And I knew I had to take that with me. I didn't know why I had a car seat, but I knew that bunny had to come home. For some reason, I knew it was a very important thing. So I grabbed that.
You couldn't actually remember
who it was for. No.
That's great. It's almost like memory that's hidden somewhere else.
It's almost like that you cannot get through this. You can't put your child to sleep without this, so you need to take it with you.
Yeah. So you said that there's parts of your daughter's second year that you can't remember at all.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't think it's something cognitive. I think it's the fight or flight.
Yeah.
In that first year had such dark moments, or let's say from the 20-week scan through, so what's that, sort of 18 months.
Yeah.
There were so many dark moments, and I think my brain has blocked them out at self-preservation. basically. You know, I am about moving forward, hence why I'm motivated to run a business. And I felt like it was going to hold me back. So it's almost been pushed aside.
Yeah. Put in a box for now.
Put in a box.
So your business and building that brand has become like your safe place through all of this.
Yes.
What is it about jewellery that lets you kind of get lost in that?
The meaning behind it. Also me being a geek, I do, you know, I love the stones and in themselves. And I am very much a person who has feelings towards stones. You know, like we were talking about, I'm not going to get too woo-woo about it, but I get it. I get that feeling from stones. It's not how much the piece is. It's even sometimes not even how it was made. It's what it means to someone.
Yeah.
And that's what I held on to. I am not overly sentimental on my own jewellery because I make myself new jewellery all the time.
Yeah.
But your jewellery, someone else's jewellery, that speaks to me more.
What is it about the actual process? Can you talk us through the process of putting together a piece of jewellery?
Of course. So let's say we were looking at an engagement ring. We start with a really straightforward discovery call. And for me, this is less about selling to a client. It's more about hearing what's important to them.
Yeah.
I have seen, let's assume, so many gentlemen go into shops and not feel listened to, not feel valued. And that's what that call is all about. Understanding how he's going to propose, how he feels about the proposal, and giving him the reassurance, I'll handle the ring, you handle your emotions and planning the proposal.
There's a theme of like compartmentalizing emotions.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
So with your experience and everything you've kind of gone through, do you think that's changed how you've approached business?
Yes, and I think is a positive and a negative in a way. I think before I was very much go as hard as you can, burn out for 4 days, go as hard as you can, burn out for 4 days. And I almost relished in that. I was that person that was proud to be busy and tell everyone that they're really busy. Whereas now I've learned I have to run at a steady pace because there's lots of things that need my energy.
Yeah.
And I value my relationships with my family and friends so much more now. Which I didn't before. I didn't put a priority on those things. So I think I'm better because I'm more stable. But I also think potentially I won't succeed as quickly as I would have because I'm running at a more consistent pace.
Yeah. Was there ever a real possibility of you dying within that period?
What a question. Yes. Yeah. I mean, if this is dark for you, I have a true theory. If we'd never found out about my daughter's heart, we wouldn't have stayed in Bristol. I wouldn't have been under so much stress. I wouldn't have had the fall, the collapse, the seizure. They would have never found it.
Yeah.
If they'd never found it, I could be dead.
Yeah.
And she wouldn't have a mother. And that breaks my heart.
Is this something that's still with you? Like, do you still think on this as much as you did at that time?
Awfully for myself, no. More for her. I am a very much a helicopter parent when it comes to her health. She'll get a little cold and I'm like, we need to check her heartbeat. We need to listen to her lungs. You know, I am definitely that person. But, you know, if she wants to throw herself down a slide head first, crack on, you know, be strong, be brave. But in terms of my own health, I'm not great.
Okay.
I'm not great. I'm aware of the triggers now. I can feel when I've reached my capacity, but I definitely power through for a little bit longer than I should.
And is that tied to, like you were saying, like overworking and stuff like that? Can that kind of trigger it? Or
it's my own expectations. My expectations are so high of myself, I'll be honest, of other people. You know, I expect myself to achieve. I expect myself to grow. I expect myself to do better in everything. Yeah. Motherhood and business.
So speaking on that then, where are you trying to take the Holly Robinson brand?
Again, this is so soppy. I want my daughter to look at the business and be proud of me.
Yeah.
That's my goal. She is already has very high expectations for everyone. So I want her to be proud. I also want to grow at a steady rate. I don't want to get arrogant and end up inflating the business so much so it can't survive. It's unsustainable. So I do want to grow, but I want to be sensible with the avenues we grow in.
Do you ever struggle, because it's such a personalised business, like it's very bespoke?
Yeah.
Do you ever worry that you're unable to scale because you're tied into that personal connection?
Yes. I mean, I'm sure we all talk about this, but having my name as the company name was probably the biggest mistake I ever did, because everyone wants to talk to Holly.
Yeah.
You don't want to talk to Sally, Bob and Jim, you know. So how could I possibly replicate that experience for a client? It's going to take a lot of hard work to build someone up to the point where they would want to speak to that person. So that does terrify me in a way. What I've done instead is look at ways to streamline processes and then employ someone to do almost the back of house stuff. So I can remain the face, but not necessarily be bogged down in the admin.
Yeah. So what do you think the bigger brands, so maybe I won't name them.
Don't name them.
High street brands. Where do you think they're going wrong? What do you think they're doing wrong?
It's quick sales, it's a lack of experience, it's a lack of training for staff. Customers feel like a number. You're not a number. You have a name, you have a story. And once you've proposed, I want your partner to come in and feel the joy you felt when you bought that ring. I want to talk to your partner about the process and give you a little bit of praise, you know, get you some brownie points that you designed her ring. I think high street jewellers have fallen flat, you know. Also, rents are so high, rates are so high, their margins are so high, they're charging a premium for a lower level product that they're making in a factory.
Yeah, I think the high street in general seems to be disappearing. Everything's moving online a lot.
Yeah, I think online, but also I think people are starting to value local small businesses now. And, you know, that experience of knowing the person that created that thing for you is more important than getting a bargain on a rubbish product.
So this is soppy for you.
Go on.
So do you think that there's emotion held in stones?
100%. 100%. I think, for example, I have 4 engagement rings, all from the same man. But that first one, there's more emotion in that stone, even though I hate the ring. That stone is more important to me than any other stone.
Yeah.
Because that's the one he chose, and that's the one he chose to give to me. So yeah, 100%.
I guess as well, kind of like when you hear a song and you tie it to a moment.
Yes.
It's the same with the jewellery, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
You always tie that to that.
I also have my crystals and, you know, all around my house, but
yeah,
you know, I don't bring that to the office.
Yeah. So do you kind of believe in that a little bit then?
I think so. You know, I think it has each stone has different properties. There's nothing I love more than going to a crystal shop and you sit there and you go, which one is speaking to me today? I am that person. I love collecting shiny things.
Hearing your story, I can fully believe why you'd be a person that believes things happen for a reason.
Yeah.
Just because of how everything happened as well. Because I'm thinking your condition, for example, has been with you for your whole life. Crazy that it simultaneously was discovered at the same time everything was going on with your daughter. And
they've said, you know, it's stress that triggers it. And I've had a stressful life up until that point, especially with my old job, and it never happened.
Yeah.
I used to drive, like I said, hundreds and hundreds of miles a week. Nothing happened. But it happened at that one point when we could find it and we could fix it. And in a weird way, I'm actually really thankful for that part of the journey.
Yeah. So what was the moment that you knew you were leaving that job? Like, I know you were generally unhappy, but what was I want to know the actual moment.
I got a dog. I got a tiny little Chihuahua, and he was the love of he still is the love of my life, but he comes down a few pegs now with a child in tow. And I wanted to stay at home with him. I didn't like that we were dropping him off to doggy daycare, and I was paying someone to look after my dog. There's child parallels there, isn't there? And we went to Cornwall for the weekend. I mean, I was ill. I looked ill. I was drained. and we'd gone on this gorgeous walk. I love walking. So we'd gone on this gorgeous walk, and we went back to our little cabin. My partner had cooked dinner, and I just passed out on the sofa. Did not wake up until the next day. And he said, this is not healthy. You are literally running at full speed and then crashing. And then I decided, why am I working for someone else? Why am I putting myself under this for someone else? And they're not necessarily very thankful for it.
Yeah, I was just about to say, you are still running at full speed.
Yeah.
Is it just a totally different feeling when it's for yourself?
Weirdly, it's for your family.
Yeah, true, yeah.
So it's almost less egotistical and more, I'm doing it out of love for our life. I'm doing it out of love for our relationship, our house, our family, our experiences, rather than lining the pockets of someone else.
Yeah. So we spoke about where you kind of want to send the brand.
Yes.
What does your life look like in 5 years?
Wow. Okay. This is a huge one that I never can answer very succinctly. So I have the office now where a lot of clients come and meet me. My dream, this is probably further than 5 years, is to have an old sort of townhouse where people can come in, have a little bit more of a community area downstairs so you can actually walk in, and then you would come upstairs. I've planned this out. I'm vision boarding this,
That's cool. I think you should.
I always say it's a manifestation board. It's already coming. And then you would go upstairs to speak to the designers. I then would come down as like a 60-year-old woman with all my jewels, and I just say hello to everyone, and that would be it. Because that's my biggest fear. I mean, when I get to 50, 60 years old, are clients in their 20s and 30s going to find me relatable to buy their rings? So that's long term. In 5 years, I would like to have a few more members of staff. I would like to grow the workshops a little bit more and have more of an immersive experience. So you've got the option to go for what we call our edit range, which is a range that's already been designed for you, or you go on a bigger journey than I'm offering now.
So how do things look now? So is your daughter back to health now? Is that something
she's doing amazing.
Will that always be a thing? Or?
Yeah, I mean, she's got to have checkups every year.
Yeah.
Her coarctation is not known as a coarctation anymore, but it is still thin. Her aorta is still a tiny bit thinner than ours would be. So we've got to keep an eye on it. She's got to have these scans, but within herself, she is a crazy toddler, and there's no stopping her. You wouldn't know.
What, just for my interest, what is an aorta? Is that?
So the aorta, you're testing me now, comes out of the heart, and I can't remember which way the blood goes, but it's the big part that links into the top of your heart.
Yeah.
So as it bends down, hers was too narrow.
Okay. So
it would have affected the pressure of the blood going one of which ways, which is ironic because that was what was going on in my brain at the same time.
That's crazy.
So they basically she had to have her surgery, and I think they cut it and put it back together again. So it was wide and chunky again.
Yeah. So hearing you talk about that, I can see it's getting you a bit emotional.
Yeah.
Is that just remembering what she had to go through?
Yes, I think I was, I'm a geek. Whilst I was pregnant, I learned everything. I could have performed the surgery myself. I had learned every single detail I needed to know. And then when she was born, I realised she was a human being.
Yeah.
She wasn't a project. She wasn't an exam that I needed to pass. She was my child. And I was like, I actually am obsessed with this person.
Yeah.
And that obsession only gets more and more. The older she gets, I'm more and more obsessed with her.
I guess there's more of her, isn't there?
Exactly. And there's more past. And I already think I'm one of those annoying mums where I go, oh, when you were one, this is what happened. She's looking at me going, Mum, please, you're so boring.
Yeah. My daughter calls me cringe on like a weekly basis.
Yeah, I think I'm already there and she's still a toddler.
So how are you?
I'm good. I would say, so interestingly, when we first started talking, when you invited me on, that week I was a mess. And I was writing my story for you and I sobbed because I've never done that before.
It sounds like you haven't stopped to think about that either.
No, I've ignored it.
Yeah.
Completely ignored it. And I think at some point that's going to catch up on me, but I don't know when.
So with you being very matter of fact and get stuff done and tick the boxes, That research that you were doing, do you
Yeah.
think that gave you maybe an illusion of a bit of control?
Yes. But interestingly, in contrast, whilst I did all the research for our daughter's heart condition, I did nothing for my own. I've never really read about it. I'm not really that interested in reading about it. Just go with the flow, see what happens.
Is that an ongoing thing?
It's still there. The radiation has shrunk it, so good news. We found out in September, but it's still there. And from what I understand from the consultant, the smaller ones are at more risk of erupting. So we need it to get smaller and smaller quicker, basically.
Does that, I mean, maybe not, because you were saying you tend not to think about it and stuff, but does that change your relationship with life and death?
It does. I've never really experienced a life-changing thing. I think I've been very lucky that I've never been near death. I've never understood death. I'm really fortunate at that point in my life. One of my grandparents had died. That was it. And to me, that felt quite natural. And then all of a sudden, your child's going to die, and surprise, so are you. It was a shock. So I'm more thankful for the most basic things now. Whereas pre that life, I was so materialistic.
Can you go into that? That's interested me.
I was that dick. I had to drive a BMW. I had to have 3-piece suits. I had to be covered in jewellery. I had to wear my Rolex. I mean, I don't even wear it anymore because I don't want to wear it. I was that idiot.
What was that about at that time?
A show. It was all show. It was all bravado. It was hiding something. Whereas now, I'm chill. I'm never going to be wearing high heels in your appointment. I couldn't think of anything worse. All those suits are in the bin, put it that way. But I think it's about realising life is more than just appearances. Appearances, I think, are important when you're in a business because it's a feeling you're selling, not just a product.
Yeah.
But it doesn't need to be rammed down your throat. It doesn't need to be, look at me, I'm on show kind of thing. So it's made me appreciate being yourself, being authentic, and giving people what they want rather than the image you want to project.
What was that image hiding?
I think unresolved insecurities. I've never had a better relationship with my partner until I left my old job. We didn't see each other, I was sleeping in hotels more than I was at home. And I suppose we've been together since we were very, very young, 18. So we hadn't actually become adults until I was 28. Yeah.
So what was the change? Transition from more flashy, a dick, as you said.
Yeah, I was a massive dick. Yeah.
What was the transition to kind of who you are now?
It was having nothing. I realised I used to live very much month to month. I would blow my salary every month. And then all of a sudden I didn't have a salary anymore. And I earned no money personally for a year. And I had to rely on my partner for it. And I've never done that. And there were months where I was like, oh my God, I'm that person. I hate myself for this. I can't believe I'm not contributing to the house. This is embarrassing. The business is going to fail. But actually letting him step into that position by showing a little bit more softness in myself did us wonders.
Yeah.
Wonders for his confidence, wonders for my, would it be humility? I was humbled big time in that moment.
Do you think society as a wider sort of concept had given you that pressure?
Oh, yeah. I mean, at the time it was all this girl boss rubbish, women can have it all and work until you can't work anymore and climb the corporate ladder. I'm not in that anymore.
The Rolex is gone.
Yeah, I'm in my wellies. You know.
So do you find yourself a lot more fulfilled and happier?
So much more happier. Yeah, I don't wake up with that constant knot in my stomach of what's going to happen today. What problem am I going to have to overcome? Yeah.
So when you were deep in that kind of dark space where you've walked away from what sounds like probably a very good salary, you're trying to build this thing that you kind of believe in. but you're
Yeah,
having
I was
moments
scared,
where,
yeah.
What kept you going?
Delusion. Complete delusion. Honestly, I think at one point I was like, this is not going to work, you know. I'm very lucky that I had friends from my high school days. I think the first engagement ring I sold was from a guy I went to school with. And in that one sale, I was like, oh my God, I can actually do this by myself. People want me to make their rings for them. And then it snowballed from there. And I did hit the wedding shows hard. And pre-COVID, people actually went to wedding shows. So they did very well. And very quickly, within Wiltshire, people started to say, oh, she's the girl that makes the jewellery. And I became a little name.
New identity.
Yeah.
So having a brand new identity, you've really detached yourself from a kind of past life, I guess you'd say.
Yeah.
And you said that change was in your early 30s.
Late 20s. So I left when I was 28, yeah.
So do you think that changes again as you go on to 40s, 50s?
I think so. I think I can imagine that it would. I would like the growth pre-40. Show my age. Yeah, I'd like big growth before 40. Then I would like stable growth, maybe 40 to 50. And then by 50, I want to be like, I'll sit there, but, you know, the team is doing this. They're better than me. There's nothing more enjoyable than having staff who are better than you.
Yeah.
I used to love that, where I used to work.
Do you think that's a big challenge in business, finding the right people?
100%. It's trust. I think when you own the business, it's more scary to trust someone else. When you just work for a big business, that's not my money, is it?
Yes, it's true.
We'll hire them. Let's see what they're like.
I get the expression is they'll never care as much as you do.
Yes.
And I know there's a whole conversation behind, I guess, getting people into that, making them understand not just your physical product.
Yeah, your ethos and your values. You know, my aim is to find sort of foundation staff who will grow with the business so that they almost have some ownership in it. They love it as much as I do. Yeah.
So going through all of this and this journey, it's so big that, like we were speaking before this, I was saying it's hard to actually fit everything in. Do you think it's all worth it?
I truly do. I think the freedom and the experiences, the self and personal growth you get from running a business, having a child, nearly dying, I think it's worth it.
The nearly dying bit. This is a crazy question, but I have to ask it.
Go on.
Would you do it again? Would you go through that again?
I would go through it again if my daughter didn't have to go through surgery again. If I could trade one for the other, I would do it 10 times over.
Was that the most traumatic, your daughter going through that surgery, was that the most traumatic?
I think so. And being separated from each other, those 3 days will always stay with me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is there anything, and this could be personal or business brand, is there anything you regret on this journey?
I think with the business, I should have pushed harder at the beginning. I think I was...
Could you have, though?
I mean, I'm always going to say yes. Whether I had no time to do it or I do it. Work harder, work faster. I almost look at myself back then as an old employee. And I'm like, she could have worked harder. She could have pushed herself harder. I think I could have achieved a lot more pre-pregnancy because the momentum was massive. Whereas now I'm a little bit more focused on certain pieces. Back then I was doing everything. Back then I was like, do you want a bracelet? I'll do a bracelet. Do you want earrings? I'll do it. Whereas now I'm only having core products. Yeah.
And do you think that's going to drive the brand forward?
I think so. I think being more specialist, more particular about the work you take on makes you a better creator, makes you a better maker, designer. I think, at the end of the day, everybody's journey through business and everybody's journey through parenthood is hard. So I don't want to be like, oh, mine was so much harder, because it wasn't. Everything is relative. And I do believe that what you put out there is what you get. I am, especially in business, I'll be very positive. Even if something bad happens, I'm going to spin it. It's going to become positive for me. I'm going to envision it getting better. That's probably what I would say, yeah.
Yeah. Have you seen that come to fruition?
Definitely. When I am down, the business is down. When I am pumped and I'm up and I'm doing creative things, it flies.
So do you believe in manifestation and stuff like that?
Definitely. But I try to think of it more as I know this is coming. I'm looking at this, like if you've got a vision board, I'm looking at it and I go, this is coming. It's just not coming today, but it's coming within the next year or 2 years, rather than I wish it's coming to me. It is coming.
In them really dark moments, was it that vision that pulled you through?
It was a vision of having a mother and daughter relationship. Yeah. That was one of my big things with us doing this. I was like, I don't want to put people off. Dark. I don't want people to be like, she's going to die when she's making my ring. Like, she's halfway through making a ring, she's dead. Great. Where's my money gone? But at the same time, I think it's worthwhile showing that we are humans.
Yeah. And the person behind the brand
100%.
is massive these days.
Yeah.
But also I think your story is just like it's unique.
Well, I thought my life was unique before. I worked for another company, I hated them. I thought I was having a heart attack. It wasn't actually a heart attack, I was being dramatic. And then started my own business. And then the last 4 years, shat on that, really.
It just got crazier.
Yeah. Yeah.
Thank you so much for coming in.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me.
It's been really good.
That was a bit dark. Appropriate. Yeah.